is. Excellent. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Millis Finance Committee meeting tonight. Today is Wednesday, March 20th at 7 p.m. And my name is John Lohr. I am the Finance Committee Chair. And I am here along with my members. And why don't we introduce ourselves, starting off to my left.
Jody Garcon. Sarah Reyes.
Peter Underhill.
Peter Berube.
Michael Crone.
Jen Zaretsky.
Kathy McInnes.
Perfect. And just a reminder to all of us and all of our viewers that all the material that is handed out is available online. Actually, talking to this mic. That's my next bullet point.
Yep.
All the materials available online. You can watch this live right now, or you can watch it at home at the local channel. And if you can't make that, you can watch it on demand on YouTube. So multiple ways to get information. Just a reminder to direct all your questions through myself, the chair, and to speak directly into the microphones so we can be in stereo. With that said, does anyone have any comments before we get going? Nate, are you ready to roll?
I'm rocking.
All right. We'll start off with the Community Preservation Committee with Nate Maltinsky. Thank you for coming here to share information and helping us get an understanding of Oak Grove and the repair envelope.
Good evening, Nathan Maltinsky, Chair of the Historical Commission also, but Community Preservation Committee. Tonight, we have, there'll be 3 articles on town meeting warrant. One is a annual, a repetitive article, which gives the amount of money that's being funded into each account that is required. And I don't know if you have those numbers, but I do have them also.
Okay, and just to, just so we're on the same page, I'm just looking at the draft now. That's Article 11 is the community preservation open space. The farm trail improvements, and then the farmhouse is Article 12. And was there, you say a third one?
Article 8.
It's under Article 8.
Article 8.
Number 4.
Yep, perfect, thank you. Yep.
Right, so basically, there's all the categories, and then for administrative, and then for budget reserves that we appropriate money to each time. So Article 8, which will be the funding, there'll be administrative, will be $16,131. And then in historic, community, and open space, it'll be $32,262 in each category. Budget reserves will be $80,000, a total of $192,916,000.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
So the other 2 articles that we have in front of us for this town meeting, and we have placeholders in for both of them, are continuing Oak Grove Farm Trail improvements. They have come back to the CPC for additional funding of $17,000 to continue their trail improvements. They just did go to Concom on Monday and discussed the project with them. I think they got a thumbs up on their proposal, what they're planning to do. And they've done a great job. It's money well spent. It's really needed over there. And the trail system's vastly improved, and it's been majority of the volunteer efforts, along with materials and some rental for equipment and whatnot.
And is this, just to clarify, is this to add trails or maintain trails, or a little bit of both?
Maintain trails and improve the trails.
Okay.
They have a lot of flooding issues,
Yeah,
and they're putting in stone and drainage and some bridge work previously.
yep.
So things, of course, cost more than you can kind of estimate, and so we're meeting next Thursday to discuss our 2 projects again.
Sounds good. Does anybody have any questions so far? No? Okay, thank you.
Our other article will be for Oak Grove Farmhouse improvements, which is through the Historical Commission.
Yep.
Mark Proofer presented last month on this article. The farmhouse is in dire need of some restoration. So I think that the best approach right now is to do a two-phase restoration. Phase one will be just for the roof, because the roof is, I believe, from 1985 or 86, and it's way past its lifespan and is starting to leak a little bit. So we want to get that taken care of now. The remainder of the work will really need an RFP from Mike Kaczynski or an architect to detail the rest of the restoration that's needed. This way we can spec out each component of what needs to be completed and have a detailed list and of requirements. So we'll do a phase two in the fall, but phase one right now, just to replace the roof that's in dire need with, be similar roof to what's on Niagara right now. And I've reached out to a couple contractors for a price on the roofing. So it'll be roofing the front porch, the main house, the bump out in the back, two little doghouse dormers, and then there's a small shed in the rear of the building.
Okay,
Mr. Chair?
go ahead.
Fill me in a little bit. I'm rather new to the town. What do we use the house for?
The house is under the control of the Historical Commission, which was saved back in 1985 when the farm was purchased. So the house is used as a museum and as a meeting function for the Historical Commission. I'm glad you asked that question because we had just talked about possibly utilizing the farmhouse further and potentially making another apartment, or utilizing the space and doing some restoration on the inside, and utilizing the building to a more fulfilled use. So right now, it's underutilized,
And who holds title to the property?
the town.
But not a nonprofit organization.
That is correct.
Has it been discussed about putting it in a nonprofit organization
It has not.
so that donations could be made?
It has not.
One final question. I see I won't get into some of the other costs because you're not talking about those tonight, but the roof cost of $395,000. It seems extremely high. Is there a reason for that?
Because the person that, Mark Proofer, that put the presentation together, that is for a metal roof, which is lead-coated copper roof, which is out of the scope of what really, it'd be great to be able to do something like that, but it's past our budget. So I'm requesting up to $50,000 this time for the roof restoration right now. Yeah, I was a little taken aback by some of the numbers that were presented, and I said that I have a hard time with that. So it'll be up to $50,000 for phase one, and then we'll have solid numbers for phase two of the restoration.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, is the museum open to the public? This is the first I've heard of the museum. What is it?
We don't have hours per se, but we've used it for, it's been used over the years for, we've had many reenactments, we've had Civil War, we've had Revolutionary War, we've had weddings there, we've had, when the Millis had the Pride Day, we used to utilize the farmhouse for that. So it's on a volunteer basis. As you know, it's pulling people together and resources and trying to get everyone together, and time is valuable. So we want to try to utilize it more. So We may be speaking to the Housing Authority about making an affordable unit in there, maybe two, but once again, that's going to require additional funding besides this Phase 2, because the upstairs is in natural condition. So horsehair plaster, falling plaster, no insulation, a bunch of artifacts in there.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead,
Follow-on question.
continue, yeah, go
Is
ahead.
it under any kind of restriction that you would have to restore it historically, or could you be more modern, let's say, in any kind of rehab? Is it on like the Register of Historic Places? Is there
It
some
is,
kind
there's a
of-
big sign
okay.
out front, National Historical Register of Places.
But is that the house or the whole property? Like, yeah, is that
It's
everything?
it's for the whole farm,
Okay.
which encompasses the farm and the farmhouse.
But to Mike's point earlier, the house and the property are the same title or two separate?
So when this was carved up, way back when, the farmhouse and the land immediately around it, roughly an acre or so,
Yeah,
is under control of the Historical Commission. Then the Oak Grove Farm Commission has ownership or
yeah,
purview to the rest of the
property,
property.
gotcha. Makes sense.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I see in the article, it says it's going to be from the Community Preservation Historical Reserve Fund for this project, for Phase 1. Is it your intent for Phase 2 to also be from the reserve project?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we'd, state funding for these kind of projects, which we've applied for several times, we've never gotten money. And they only get, you have to match the funds, and it's kind of a bait and switch kind of thing. And we've applied, never gotten anything. And when we did the bandstand over, almost 10 years ago, we applied for money for that and never received anything. But we did receive a lot of donations and whatnot, and sweat and labor from Mills residents for that, so. We'd like to find another funding source, but there's not much out for historical.
Mr. Chair?
Gotcha, go ahead.
Nate, the 50,000 sounds a lot better than 395, but
Thank you.
looking at this, you're welcome. Looking at this and some of the pictures, it looks like, you know, it's not just roofing that needs to be replaced. It looks like it'll be fascia and trim boards. I'm not sure if there's any sheathing, if you have any leaks or anything like that. Ultimately, what I'm gonna ask is do you anticipate $50,000 is enough? Will you be able to have a ROM before town meeting so that the article is crafted appropriately? If it's 75 or 100, that you'll still be able to execute your project. 50 seems awful close to what I'm looking at, you know, or not enough.
So,
I'm no roofer.
good question. The original wood sheathing is up there, and then when they did it originally, they laid plywood over top of that. So we did have it inspected, and it is in great shape. So there might be an area or two that's needs attention, but for the most part, it's in really good shape. So there is a substantial cushion in there right now. And I've, only from experience, learned to go high, aim high, and have something in reserve. So I have, you know, maybe 10 to 15,000 additional that if we don't use it for Phase 1, it can be appropriated for Phase 2. That's if needed.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
do you offhand know what the balance is in the Community Preservation Historical Reserve Fund?
Just happen to have that.
Awesome.
$163,473.37 as of 11/30/23.
And that's is that in a fund that earns interest? Do you know?
That's the town accountant.
But it'll be, yeah,
It won't change
Let's
probably
say-
too much.
at the most 165.
Right, so currently, in all three, as of November of last year, we have $1.5 million in all the categories for open space, historic resource, community housing, budget reserve, undesignated. So we haven't had a lot of project lately.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean that,
Oh, you guys did a lot of work
Yeah.
on the Niagara, so,
yeah, and that came up to 237,000.
Yeah.
But that would have been double that if we didn't, the commission didn't put as much sweat equity into that, basically, so.
Yeah.
you guys were there all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. On the, so phase one, and then phase two, you anticipate with some of the pictures and the comments you just made about horsehair and plaster and things like that, do you think the expenses will be far greater than what the estimates are right now? Kind
Well-
of like the roofing question, but internally and externally on the building?
So we kind of were a little behind the 8 ball on getting the numbers together, so
Okay,
I thought it'd just behoove us that we do it in 2 phases. So
yep,
Jackie and the Gracies were very key people back in the day to save this farmhouse, and it was actually on fire. People, back in the early 80s, some kids got in there and started a fire, and so it
Wow.
almost burned down. So they were the integral part of saving that farmhouse and keeping it, and it's a beautiful spot. It really looks good
it's
up there.
fantastic, absolutely. Pete, go ahead.
I do this for a living with historical buildings. I'm gonna ask the question no one likes to hear. Has there been a hazmat assessment of that building for PCBs, asbestos?
Don't answer.
Because that's just gonna make the roof project skyrocket. I know from experience.
You're touching my world, too.
Yeah, okay, good, all right, good.
No, there has not. I'm sure that there's lead paint in there.
Oh, sure.
God, yes.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't,
Yeah.
but the PCBs and asbestos, that's what could.
Yeah, so, I mean, we could have a testing done, you know, but that would be the interior work. That'd be a whole nother project
Yeah.
of, you know, moving forward with it, but for right now, it'd be the exterior, so,
I see 80s roofing and it scares me sometimes.
yep,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm a building inspector, by the
Okay,
way.
great, so you know.
The train station on Exchange Street, does your organization maintain that as well?
No, that's always been under the control of the town.
So
So
just-
it was rented out for years and years and years and years to this Montessori school,
Yeah.
and nothing was ever done. So it wasn't under our control, so we had no say in the building. So nothing was done. And now it's at the point where it's a wonderful building, and I think it's definitely worthy of some CPC funds if the town does come forward for funding for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Hi, Nate.
Hi.
It said that there was a tenant in there, or was a tenant in there, and I'm just wondering, will there be a new tenant after the roofing or phase one is done? How much do you charge in rent per month, and does that money go into CPC?
The tenant moved out after 30-plus years there. They were an integral part of keeping that place the way it looked. The Wizardbiskis were wonderful. They, Kathy drove a bus for the kids for years. They moved out in December. We were instructed that it had to go out to bid for every 3 years by the state. So they decided that they were gonna move anyway, so they moved their schedule up and they moved out and they moved up to Maine. The money, the rent money goes into the general fund. It does not, I believe so.
Right,
Money goes in general fund. We do not, commission's never seen any of that money. We do get a stipend for our budget every year. And I did 2 years ago or so ask for an increase because of bringing on Niagara online and costing us more to operate. I actually have worked with Mike and Kathy, Mike and
Kieran?
Karen. Thank you. Mike and Karen, and I gave them the information about the farmhouse and what the requirements would be for a future tenant. And they are working on the process of putting it out for bid to rent there, and the prerequisites for what would be required to be a tenant and then maintain the property. So you'd have to take care of the general maintenance, the lawn cutting, the leaves, snow blowing on the main part of the house, just a side driveway, and then take care of when we're there for meeting nights and whatnot, or events. So I gave them the information a couple months ago, so they're working on that right now.
Is that because it's a historical property that those requirements?
Speaking to the mic, please.
Is that because it's a historical property?
No, that's
the
just,
requirements?
that's just the process that you have to go through if you're going to rent a town-owned property.
Okay,
It's got to go out for public bid, so,
gotcha.
yeah. So I gave them the information. Town council is working on that and drafting paperwork to get that going. I don't know when this will transpire. We did talk that, at our last historical meeting, that we do have a revolving fund, and potentially taking a portion of the rent, or taking the rent, put in a revolving fund, and having those funds available for future needs for the farmhouse or the property. Something to consider. So if we had tenants in there, 1 or 2 tenants, because besides our yearly stipend, we don't see any of the money. So roughly over the 35 years, I think it's been $360,000 in rent that have been collected through the tenant. Now, the amount never really changed. It got set in place, maybe changed once, so it's been very low rent, but we've had really good tenants, and but that's all gonna change.
And just to clarify from my own knowledge, it's just one unit, right, versus multiple units in there?
It's the rear part of the building, it's not the main house, and it's a 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom, and it has a partial finished basement. But once again, I did inform the Mike Kozinski that, you know, the heating system is old. The tenant is responsible for water and sewer now, because we did have it hooked up.
Yep.
Way back when. There's some leaky windows, things like that. We don't have a snow blower for the property. We do have a lawnmower. So there's no refrigerator in the unit. So there's some considerations to be made for when we do have new tenants.
Sounds good. Anyone have any other questions? Hey, thank you very much for taking the time out of your night and educating us and bringing us up to speed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your work.
Good evening, Jim.
Good evening, all.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is like a rite of spring.
That's right.
When you come to a,
Start fresh.
yes. So I think you did sent out a couple of weeks ago the entire budget. So I try to break it down.
Correct.
A little, because there's so many pages. And if there's any questions that are not in the presentation that I'm going to do tonight, please feel free to ask me. So the first page on the presentation is the DPW org chart. There's 16 employees that work for the DPW. I know one of the members had asked, there's 7 Millis residents and 9 live outside the town of Millis. The next page is a little more, the breakdown of all the employees for the town that work for the DPW. If you can look down at the bottom part, that's current. And if you look at the highlighted in red we are looking to change those allocations to what's up top in the purple. We've found that through our new ESS system that we use, that the employees use, and we use ourselves, tracking over this past year, and even from previous years, the split between the three mostly assigned water and sewer personnel. We need to adjust that. Most of their time is spent in water and not in sewer, so we are recommending that we changed those three people in the purple from 50-50 to 65-35. Water will be 65, sewer will be 35%. And that would, you'd see that in the budget presentation, that there was a decrease in sewer salaries and an increase in water salaries. Down the bottom, we're just changing a little bit of the two personnels. There's no change in it's just how we're reassigning the way the people do the work. Mr. Gagon and Jesse, you can see that that's changed just a little. Any questions?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Pete.
First off, I'll say that I have zero problems with how the data is presented. It just looks that, but I'm making an observation, and I just want you to know, wanting to know if my observation is accurate. Because this has been a topic over the years, as you know, in terms of allocations and things like that. The numbers look very clean in FY '24 in terms of they're very easily, they're increments of 25%. I think you are better tracking where time is spent and allocated now between, say, general fund and the enterprises. Is that process helping you have a little bit more fidelity where you're able to allocate time in finer increments?
So if you remember last year, we made the bigger change to all those 25%. No one was charged that 25, 25, 25. We made that adjustment last year, mainly with senior staff, meaning myself, the director, the administrative staff, and the DPW superintendent, and the foreman, and the mechanic. That has worked out so much better. It's an easier tracking of the work that needs to be done. We haven't got that far down with the general staff on the bottom, meaning the daily workers, other than the three, people that are assigned to water and sewer. There's still a discrepancy that we're working with the town administrator and the finance director to rectify that. It's just this year, we're not going to make many changes in those allocations. We are looking at maybe next year, maybe changing it all to 25-20. Everybody would be, if we're going to be one DPW, everybody would be assigned 25-25, other than those three, because of the service and where they're asked to perform duties on a daily basis. But if that happens, the general fund has to pony up a lot more funds to take care of their aspect of it. So it's still a working in progress. We're not there yet, and the only changes we're making this year is recommendation is those 3 or 4 people.
Thank you.
You're fine tuning.
Trying.
Yep,
Yep.
understood.
Yep. The next is just the basic salary for the DPW. And the next, we can go to...
Are there any highlights we should be aware of on this page, or?
No, it's just everybody received their COLA increases. Some have step increases. You can follow it on the, where you can see everything jammed into that little box. Those are people that are getting step increases.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Just curious, Jim,
Yep.
what's other pay in that column?
So that could be stipends. Myself, it's stipends. It's for snow and ice. It's for my water licenses. And everybody else down there, it's the same for their whatever different licenses they have.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Next is, we presented this to the permanent build, yep, is it PBC? What are you?
Capital
CPC?
planning.
Capital planning.
One of the capital planning, the CPC.
Yep.
I'm on the other one. So this is our vehicle. The highlighted ones are going to be probably asked for in at the November town meeting. They are on the list to be replaced. The reason why we didn't ask for them now is because the vehicles aren't there, and there's no way, why should we tie up the town's money that could be used someplace else? If you look at the 2011 Holder down the bottom there, that is being replaced with a much cheaper and what I believe is a more efficient vehicle. Now, we're using Chapter 90 funds. The Select Board approved that at their last meeting. This is the frontline sidewalk machine. So it is accepted under Chapter 90 to replace that. To replace this machine, we got a quote of almost $160-something thousand. And the machine that we're buying it is $56,000 with all the attachments that go along with it. So we felt that was a much better use of money. You can almost replace it, and if it breaks, to this one. This has been in here since 2011. It's been a lemon. We did buy an extended warranty on it, and from the day that the warranty left, we've spent over, which I provided to the CPC, was over $60,000+ in repairs. And we're in the need of $30,000+ to get it running for next year. And it was just an idea, it's, enough's enough. It had to go. The next couple items are one capital item that we're looking for. It's equipment, and when I say equipment, safety equipment, we're talking about safety cones, barrels, what I call police horses, if you all remember them, the day there were the big wooden horses that they would put out there. When we had these last couple of storms, we had to shut down Route 109. Believe it or not, between the DPW, fire, we had to go to Medfield and borrow some of their equipment to close down our roads because we didn't have enough equipment. The budgets are so tight to buy a large purchase of this type of equipment, the funds just aren't there, to do it correctly. We're not going to buy another signboard or anything with it. It's just going to be strictly for that type of, like jersey barriers. I'm sure you've seen all the plastic jersey barriers that can be either put there temporarily, permanently, or whatever. We'll purchase some of them with that. Yes.
I imagine the request is because of just wear and tear of the safety equipment over time.
Correct.
And I imagine the technology has improved, so you have a, I don't know, plastic barrier versus a metal barrier or some other material.
Good question. Yeah, everything would be plastic.
Yeah.
And everything, we won't buy any of the wooden ones. They'll all be plastic, interchangeable. We'd get some of the higher rise ones that I'm sure you've seen them, block flooded roads ahead, and we all know we have plenty of them. We do buy cones every year. I'm not gonna say we don't purchase this type of equipment, try to keep up with it. And we've tried to crack down on, with the staff of making sure they go out and just pick them up after, because we do see a lot of them laying on the side of the road, and when the private contractor very happily drives by and picks up 5 or 6 of our cones, and uses them. They peel off our seal and uses them. So we're trying to make sure if we go out, use them, go get them the very next day, or when they're, not needed.
Do you spray paint the Millis
No, we put,
seal on, or is it a sticker?
no, it's a sticker. If everybody knows me, it's
Could you put stolen from the
yeah,
town on?
town of Millis, with the locator on them.
Fair enough.
Yes. The next two are just, there's a standard items that every year we go through. I think the first one is at the II. The II, that's it's an unfunded mandate that we need to remove, or at least investigate I&I. I&I is infiltration, water getting into the sewer system. And once you do the whole system, start all over again, make sure it's still working. And I think we're looking at, like this line item, somehow probably putting it into the budget. The funds are there, and because we usually take these out of reserve funds. So this is probably, we will bake it right into the budget next year, so you won't have to see it. The next is lead and copper. We finished, we're halfway there with what needs to be provided by October 24th of this year.
and the funds that we requested last year, and I think we got some of it through a grant. We did get some of it through a grant. It just wasn't enough. So everybody in their next water bill, you'll see that you're gonna get another postcard. You're gonna be asked to go downstairs, scratch your pipe, and send the picture in, see if it's a magnet, see if it's lead, see if it's copper. And if people do not respond to that, because we will have to get into every house, we'll have to follow up with a phone call or a knock on the door, and we'll have to hire a company to come in and, do that work for us. Because it's mandated by the Mass DEP. And then, when it's all said and done, when the service is all done, we'll have to categorize who has lead in their houses, and the town will have to come up with a program to assist those people to replace those lead pipes. Now, the big thing is what everybody has to, a house that was built after 1985, that's when the law went, you couldn't use lead pipes. So everything, I don't know if anybody in this room has, none of you, you have it, you're doing the test for us. And so we used to test for lead and copper once a year, once every 3 years. Now that we put on the well 1 and 2 treatment plant, we're testing 2 times a year, and it went from 20 homes to 40 homes. And we can only use homes that are built between 1983 and 1985. So there's only a couple of hundred homes, even if there's a couple of hundred, and to get to those 40 people, it was very difficult. Now we have to keep them, because now instead of them doing it, they're gonna have to do it twice a year. They have to do it in the, like in April, and then we'll have to do it in the fall again. And all these reports that we ever get back, they're far below any lead readings that, it's more testing and more money that's going out the door from the state.
I'm sorry to take us down this rabbit hole.
Go ahead, Pete.
You can tell me no, though.
Well, let's hear what the question is first.
Why do you have to keep retesting? Does it degrade and get into the water? I mean, once you test it, you know you have it. Don't you have to abate it?
So that would be for a house that has it. So the houses that, anything that, even this last round of testing that we've done, and Sarah can tell you, we mail her the results, and they're far below anything that would exceed the DEP. Why they want us to keep on testing that house is beyond me. It's the rule of the state.
Just to ask, when are you gonna send these notices out, or when?
They were just mailed out. You must have got your
Mailed out?
second. You got your
I sent
second?
mine back already.
You sent the little postcard back.
Perfect. Jody?
So just to clarify, this is only for those homes that are served by Millis Water?
That's correct.
And approximately what proportion of Millis is served by the water department?
So, I always think, I feel like I guess at this, and I'm asked that question so many times that I should know it right at the top of my head. But I believe that's 83% of people are on town water, and is somewhere in the 60, almost 70% are on sewer.
That's higher than I thought.
Yeah,
Me too.
Yeah.
Couple thousand.
yeah.
Sounds good.
So the next page is a budget, above-level service budget request that I've asked for every time, and I brought a little prop so I can explain
Oh,
this.
great. We don't get visuals that often, so thank you.
If it stays up there. So what you're looking at here is, I started here in 2006. And since 2006, all these highlighted areas that you're looking at are all brand-new developments in Millis since 2006. If you look at some of the, almost all of these, except for the Glen Ellen project, this highlights the assisted living project off of Dover Road on Bridge Street. And there may be one more, Tuckerdale. Everything else in this is put under the direction of the DPW, meaning that we're responsible for all the roads. If there's water, sewer, anything in there, we're responsible for maintaining them. So I think the last, I shouldn't say think, the last override was in 2013. And in that, the DPW was given a full-time employee. And within 2 years, there was cuts and that position was gone. That position was never given back until 2015, 2016. When it came back to the when the position was given back, it came into that wonderful split. There was no stormwater at the time, 33, 33, 34%. So it was back signing to the water, sewer, and water, sewer in general. In 2019, after the paradigm study that was done, when they stated that the DPW, meaning DPW general fund workload was almost 5 employees below the standard of what is needed from this map, and how many road miles, how many street sidewalks, and everything that was built since 2006. In 2019, there was a full-time person added to the DPW. It's 2019, 2020, you know, they were in that time frame. And that was fully assigned under the general fund and was paid for under the general fund. So every year after that, we're trying to get those 3 other employees, and it's just wasn't in the cards at that time. So people ask, why are you not asking for 2 at this time? I was asked that at the select board meeting. I think when you look at this, there was a lot of growth in Millis over this time. And somehow the DPW got left off in that growth. Almost every department in the town has grown for the services that are needed to supply this, except for the DPW. So those positions should or could come from whatever growth in the town of Millis. And I think we're going to rely on an override for that position to be placed this year. And if it doesn't pass, you know, we're still going to be looking at not being able to perform our duties. In here, too, I also highlighted, you know, here the chiefs and myself, we always talk about these spots here. That's a new development of 30-plus homes. This is the Bada Bing's project that's being built, 30-something plus homes. Hammond Lane, we just met with a developer on the other side of the Bowen Alley. That's another 30-plus something units being built there. This is across from Tractor Supply. That's another, again, 28, 30-something units. That's going to be built this year. Here, this is off of Rolling Meadows. That's another 40 to 50-plus homes that are going to be built, and that's going to be turned over to the DPW for responsibilities. In here, this is Herman Shoe. They've come back to us with some interest of looking to rebuild their project. Talking to Mr. Tresker, the project that, I forget the name of that, what the name of that project is. He has started to move forward with the design of upgrading the sewer station at the corner of Dover Road and Main Street. And that's a subdivision of another 48, 50-plus homes. So that's why I think we need this employee,
Yeah.
and if not more. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you articulate what's not getting done because you do not have the employees you need?
I think if one drives, like through June to, say, September, if you drive down any side street, any major road that has a sidewalk on it, you can see the weeds growing up almost 2-3 feet tall from the curb. Trash maybe be on the side of the road. You know, we don't send anybody out with the idiot sticks to pick the trash up. Because people take vacations during the summer. So when you know, I don't have the luxury of calling somebody in to cover overtime. When someone's out and 2 people are out, those bodies are not there that day because I can't backfill. We're having a very difficult time filling in the positions, you know, summer help positions. And it's not because, I mean, we're paying $15.50, I think, an hour for 40 hours, and we just can't get anybody to take those positions. So that's like 2 or 3 we usually have 3 positions for summer help, and that would take off the workload of, cutting all the grass that needs to be cut in the town, and so on. So stuff like that, I mean, during the summer, you look at trying to replace culverts, summer work that can be done, not during the winter. So the list is there. Grading Island Road, I mean, that's a function that we need to do. Grading, all the dirt roads in town. If the staff is there, it'll get done. If not, it gets pushed back.
I'll just make a comment if I can, and that, your diagram and your visual aid is impactful. I think regularly articulating, and not saying that you haven't, but every time you have an opportunity to articulate what is not getting done is equally or more impactful as to the need, because from a taxpayer perspective, is what is my additional taxes, whether it's through override or, or a growth in budget, what is that getting us? What are we not doing? And that really should be the answer every time we increase budgets, in my opinion, in for town finances.
Just to add on, we listened to the different departments that have come through here. Fire department has had substantial growth with their services. Police has had substantial growth with their services, and DPW has growth and it has needed services as well. So I think it's just, generally speaking, everything's growing, and we need to be mindful of that as residents and how we want to maintain the town on all levels. Do you have a question, Jody?
No, there's a development on my street that's not on there.
Which one?
Rivendell.
Oh, yes. That's private too. That would have been a pinky. That's true. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
A lot of the things that you're saying should be funded through new growth. These are all new growth. But if the new growth didn't, I've been in your business as well. Public Works, I did public works for 20 years for the federal government and the United States Air Force. And it's usually your DPW type functions that are looked at last for their own facilities, just like you had a DPW barn built that was, it was deplorable. And it took deplorable and, to get funding for yourselves. And budgets are hard. It just always is the lagging to have resources added. And so new growth would potentially could fund some of the things that you're talking about. Some of these neighborhoods, like the one off of Ridge Street, that won't get built out for a number of years, and the town won't accept the streets for a number of years. So that new growth isn't coming anytime soon, or the acceptance. It's not your responsibility, but there are other neighborhoods that were built, and if you never got the resources, then they're never coming. And so, I appreciate you asking every year.
Yep.
It's particularly appropriate this time
Yep,
around.
yep. What's unfortunate, and living here in Millis, and you meet people, and, they become your friends, and you talk about it. The Hickory Hill subdivision, it's one of the largest ones in Millis. The development you live in, it's almost the same size. In those two developments, road-wise, they're large, maybe not homes, but the actual road and sidewalk. When we took over Hickory Hills, it was, well, what does the town do for us? And I had to tell them, don't expect we're gonna come out and cut that little grass berm in front of your house, because we just don't have the staff to do it. We don't plow the sidewalks in those neighborhoods, where before all these developments came, Ticonderoga and all those developments, the DPW used to go out and plow those sidewalks, because they had, sufficient staff. So it's tough when you say that to, a fellow neighbor. It's like, well, I pay all this, and it's like, we'll do the best we can.
Yep.
And go on from there.
Makes sense. Go ahead.
The new employee, Mr. Chair, would be for general.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So would that alleviate some of the splits that are going to water and sewer? Because as you know, and to share with the committee, a lot is not happening due to lack of staff on the water and sewer, upgrades, cleaning,
Yep.
So if you have a new general employee, then
So
you're gonna take some of the staff that's
that would be
now-
correct,
Okay.
that are assigned to the water departments and sewer departments that would go in and paint the insides of the stations, instead of us maybe having to go out and hire somebody
Hire
in that works
people.
to do that type of work. So,
It
yeah.
would alleviate and also complete a void in the
Correct.
general fund. Yeah. Make sense?
Okay, so now here's some of our good stuff. The next is grants that we received. We did, well, I put this down, and every time, another one that's a little, you get a little nervous about, but I did get an email from the Mass DOT engineer that, that $1 million is still coming to us. And they're gonna pave Route 109 for us this year, and
That's what you said
How long,
last year.
how long have we been waiting?
I wouldn't commit to it.
Don't tease us.
yeah,
My car still hits that pothole.
yeah.
Continues.
So in the next one, we did receive a grant, and the DPW installed, if you drive down Spring Street, they are continuously flashing, but the 2 school zone signs near the Clyde Brown entrance, we did, that was a grant that we received and got that. Our materials grant, what's that, is that money that's put back into the transfer station, it can only be used in the transfer station. And we usually receive, it fluctuates depending on how good we recycle, what we pick up for trash, how we do when they do their inspection report. And this year, we got $7,200 for that. We did finally resubmit the $3.5 million for the second PFAS building, that for well number 3. And we're gonna use that to offset that $7.1 million. And we're also definitely looking at, I'll give you, if I can, Mr. Chair, if I could just give a quick update on the 2 PFAS plants.
Please do.
So the wells 1 and 2, that's what this little picture is, that's our new PFAS building. We are gonna have an open house this spring, summer, now that everything is running, and we can actually go in and say, this is what this is what it's doing. It's successful, the project came in on time, as I've stated before, and under budget, which is great news for the ratepayers. We finally got the sign-off, our final sign-off from the Conservation Commission for this 2 Saturdays ago. So this building is the town's. So there's no more, it's not the contractors, it's, there's still a warranty. And the contractor we had for this building, he's been great. We've had a couple of issues. He came back right away. TIG welding, I don't know if anybody knows what TIG welding, it's a very tough thing to do, and hopefully we're not gonna use it in the next building. But there was a couple of those, like the drain pipe kept on leaking, and right away he came back and replaced, there was like 3 of them. And he did a good job. And hopefully he'll bid and get the next project too. PFAS number 2, well number 3, we're actually getting ready to put that out to bid. We finally got all sign-offs from, I've gone to the, so any developer that comes in, we have to follow the same process. We have to go get permits from the Conservation Commission was first. They signed off, was a little delayed. The Board of Health was a struggle to get through that, but we finally got the sign-off for that. And the Planning Board, the other night, last Tuesday night, they signed off on it. The Select Board signed the contract with Kleinfelder in the amount of $300 and almost $400-something thousand. I believe that no, I don't believe, here we go, I believe. The Select Board have chosen to have Dave and myself continue on as the project managers for the project. This is our 3rd building that we'll be overseeing. The first building was the DPW project itself, and that was like $4.1 million. And again, that building came in on time and under budget. That was overseen by the Permanent Building Committee. And I learned a lot from working with that group of people, very smart, and you want to talk about penny pinchers. They've got the right group of people on that committee. Wayne did a fantastic job on every building that he ever worked on. So, in doing that, we save, each project that we do, we save hundreds of thousands of dollars that if Dave is the inspector and I take care of the money aspect of the buildings. That meaning the money aspect of it, I file all the warrants for the contractor and the engineers to be paid. And of course, Mike oversees it all. I mean, he's still the town administrator. It's not like he doesn't know what we're doing. So that between the three of us, there's not one warrant that hasn't gone through that the three of us haven't signed off on and reviewed. So we will be doing that for well number 3. Well number 3, we're going to be saving close to $500,000+ because of the fact that we're working with federal funds, and that's a lot more hands-on what is being purchased in the building, what is getting put in there. It's the Buy Back America project for that $3.5 million, so we can't do, a screw can't be made in Mexico. It has to be made in the United States. That means every pump. That could put us a little delay, but the contractor says that he doesn't see that happening. So hopefully we'll put that out to bid in the end of April, beginning May, with the contract signing date of somewhere around June, July. And hopefully, with the paperwork that needs to be done, the contractor will start September, October of this year for well number 3. So that's the update on those.
Mr. Chair?
Fantastic. Go ahead.
Does anyone have any idea about the cost for the new well, ballpark?
7.1 million.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what was approved at the November town meeting.
Yep. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question, just because I had a note here and it pertains to what
Yep.
you just said. Are you replacing well number 3? It's the
Yes.
second time I've heard that. Didn't
So
know.
well number 3, it's the whole site, right now, they're in 2 separate little buildings. There's a treatment building, and the well itself, the pump, is in another building. And to get this in the size of, it's gonna be almost the size of this building, maybe not as big as it, but it's gonna be almost that footage. We have to demolish it.
So
and
it's
we'll
not
have to
just
rebuild
adding
it.
treatment, it's adding
It's
a new well plus treatment.
Yes,
Thank you very
yes,
much.
yes, a whole new treatment facility.
And just to add on, is that common, though, for adding a PFAS treatment facility to replace the well as?
So what we're
as well?
finding at wells 1 and 2, all we did there, we just added the PFAS treatment.
You did, okay.
But now the DEP came in and they're telling us that we have an air stripper. So what happens, the water comes up, it goes through the PFAS plant, and then it goes down the road and it goes into the treatment facility. And there are other issues in that from the water that comes out that need to be treated. And one of it, all the water that goes, before it goes into the distribution system, it goes through an air stripper. And they want us to fix that, which is gonna cost and time,
Of
and then we'll have
course.
to take these wells offline for that to be done, and we're just gonna have to work around that and figure out how that's gonna happen.
Just a general question. I know, and I feel like you've always been at the forefront with the PFAS process and obtaining grants. What's the trend like out there?
So there's still a lot of money, the state, but most of it is in these SRF grants, and most of that is that the money that they'll give us no interest loans for it, which saves a lot of money when you're talking
Sure.
$3.5 million. They would pay for design, but they already gave us money, so we were on the bottom of the list that now. So they
Gotcha.
already gave us money for design for the wells 1 and 2,
Yeah,
the DEP, the state.
thank you.
So next, I through this process, because believe it or not, I actually do watch you people on Wednesday night, sorry, but I do watch the meetings, and I've seen that the DPW also does bring in revenues to offset the costs for all the departments. And this is a breakdown that Deirdre did for us. And you can see that, street opening permits and engineering fees is a small amount, but if you look at the transfer station, last year we brought in $92,665.18. That offsets the budget of almost what we're projecting this year, right around $170,000. And that's salaries and whatever it takes to, for the costs. The cemetery's another one that we bring in fees. We sell lots, we charge people for the burials, and that brings in almost, $41,557. And that offsets the cost of, for the full-time employee that's paid around $65,000, $70,000 a year. And then the last one group is the enterprise funds. They have to sustain itself. So those are rate-driven, so whatever the budget is, We put the rate out. Sometimes whatever's left over, it doesn't go back into the general fund, it stays into their own individual enterprise funds. And that's where we can spend money on capital items and so on and so on.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
what are entrance fees?
So an entrance fee is, if a sewer stub goes by a home and they have a sewer stub in front of them,
Yep.
we charge them $4,095 to tie into the sewer system, $2,095 for water. And that just offsets, hopefully offsets the
Yeah,
costs.
no, thanks for providing that.
Yep.
It's very helpful.
So the next one is the indirect costs. She wants to bring that up. And I think this is, we could spend all night talking about this, as we have in the past.
Sounds good, let's do it.
No need.
In 2018-19, thereabouts, the previous interim finance director came up with a spreadsheet. Before that, it was just how the formula came up of what was indirect cost. It was just all over the page. No one could figure it out. So she was tasked to come up with a formula of how to charge the enterprise funds to come up with this formula. So if you look at, we'll use the town administrator's budget. So his FY '25 budget is asking for $518,297. That includes salaries and expenses. That's the entire budget for the town administrator's office. In the formula that was created, it would have been that they would have collected 10% of that 518. And then it was broken down even a little bit further, that the sewer would be charged 45% and the water would be charged 55%. And right when this formula was created, that's when stormwater came into place. And it was decided at that time that it would be 3.3%. So you can follow that all the way down to the bottom of all the departments. All these departments are receiving funds from the enterprise funds. And that's the breakdown that was, at that time, formulated at 10%. I think the largest is the treasurer collectors at 20%. Maybe the first year, those percentages were used to what was collected to put into I don't know how many times it's been actually used. But if you look at, all right, so let's finish that and I'll get down to the three bottom ones. The next is health insurance, pensions, and workman's comp. Because all the staff at the DPW have workman,
Yep.
we have our pensions, we have health insurance, and it needs to be paid for. But if you look at these, if you look at the 4,194,000, whatever it is, 3.10%, that number there, that's the entire, what the town pays for the entire town. And of that 3.10% is taken out from the enterprise funds, and then it breaks it down by numbers right across the page. So if you look at the first yellow line right there, that it states that if the town was collecting those full percentages that are on that line right there, the 10%, so on and so on, that's what each division would be paying. And it would be a total of $846,197. The town administrator, and I believe the finance director, came to the conclusion that this year, like last year, and I even believe the previous year, it was only a 2.5% increase of what was collected from the previous year. Those numbers were not used to come up with that. The green is actually what will be divided up. As you can see that for a total of 746,716.
Right, so the yellow are based off of the percentages in the
percentages.
columns, and the green is the 2.5% increase from the prior fiscal year.
Prior fiscal year.
Yeah.
And that $99,480, but how I feel is if we're just gonna go with the 2.5%, well, I don't know why we're showing all those numbers, because I think we've done more of the 2.5% increases than following these larger numbers.
Right. So the formula's in place.
If needed, I guess if needed.
Well, as you said, from 2018-ish,
Yeah.
right? And that's the formula being used. So it satisfies the cost of the enterprise funds for those costs. However, is it 100% perfect? Probably not, right?
Yep.
But it's falls in the normal range, is that safe to say?
I can't make that judgment if it falls in normal range. I mean, I think if we look at what Millis does is what Millis does, what another town
Yeah,
it needs to do is different than maybe
Sure.
this type of formula. I
And-
know that the enterprise committee, they're looking at this and they're formulating a bunch of questions on how it's done. And to be honest, why is it so high? Why is that amount so high? When you look at $746,716, that's almost the entire general fund budget. And I know it's to pay for salaries. The confusing part maybe be with the expense line items, why they're in there, but that's not, that's the
Right.
select board
understood.
discussion.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Jody.
So I know that we had consultants looking at this a while ago. Was there a recommendation that came out of that?
So he stated that he felt that this formula was, if it works for Millis, it works for Millis.
Okay, so
And,
not,
and not that it was, I don't think he stated that it was wrong, but he said if there was a way to fine tune it, it was up to us to come up with how to fine tune it and how to correct it.
which would rely on basically an audit of staff time, more or
this-
less, and resources that are dedicated to working on these various enterprise areas, if you will.
That's correct.
Yeah,
That's correct.
Okay, which is not a small undertaking.
No. But we took that undertaking with the DPW staff itself.
Right.
So it can be done. It's what, like when a regular staff member that reports to work for the DPW, he'll put in, I worked 3 hours here, I worked 4 hours. And that's the way you're supposed to do it when you're working with enterprise funds.
Right.
You need to track, I mean, by law, you should be tracking those expenses. You just can't say that I'm gonna give a percentage and that's okay for that.
Mr. Chair?
go ahead.
So then on these expenses would be related to the staff allocations that are above, not the actual costs of the DPW employees that are dedicated to the DPW?
So correct, what this is you're talking, that for, whatever those numbers are, that's what the town pays. And the percentages is from what was derived from the previous finance director.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's messy to figure out. I do this for my company across multiple companies.
There is a formula and we will, we're gonna have to start working on getting that done, because this number, to be honest with you, it could be far exceeding what is being charged to it, we don't know that. It could be, I mean, when you look at the retirement page, I know that there's like 7 or 8 people that have retired previously from the DPW that are being paid out of the system and should be charged to and I'm sure the health insurance goes along with it too.
Right. So what I get is, so the formula and numbers make sense in terms of the computation of it, but the question is whether or not, how accurate is the formula?
Correct.
And Jody, to your point, does that, over the coming year or years, does it make sense to revisit it to, again, fine tune and see if the formula needs to be tweaked to be more accurate, whether it's up or down or.
And I believe that's the job of the enterprise committee that was assigned by the select board, and I think they're finally taking it on, when they saw, this year's, last year's, and
Yep.
they are
Okay.
looking into it.
Does that make sense with everybody? Indirect cost? Perfect. Thank you for explaining that to us.
Yep. what do we got?
And I know how you always like to end on a high note, so what's the next one here?
So the next one is I actually believe it's snow and ice. We actually have we have money still there, but winter's not over. We could be getting something tomorrow and Saturday. But there is a balance right now of almost $30,000. I did approach that's the first time, and even last year, we were in, I think, maybe there's like 4,000 or 5,000 by the end of it. If that money remains there, I think if anybody goes to the transfer station, they can see that the salt shed is falling apart, literally falling apart. So I have presented briefly to the town administrator what we'd like to do with some of those funds, is hopefully replacing the front facade of the salt shed before it falls out into the parking lot. And that work would be done in-house by DPW staff, but the materials would be purchased under the snow and ice budget. So let's hope that it stays that way.
It is spring.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
First time I've been on finance committee that we've had,
Something.
not overspent
It ain't
the
no,
snow
don't,
ice budget.
no, it ain't over yet. Don't jinx us. So, the last page is the Vector, and I did a breakdown, and I did make one mistake on it that I noticed. If you look at I think it's March 7th, that should be a Saturday, so whatever that is, and that's why that amount is $525, because it would have been double time. So the idea, I know we had a lot of discussions on the Vector and what it could save and what it could do. You know, we only received it in December. We had, a couple of brief training sessions with it, and the day that it came in, I cut off the top of it, it actually came in the day that we had the water main break. And it went up to the water main break. And these water main breaks on Village Street and Walnut Street, why do they keep on breaking so many times? Because they're built on ledge. And to dig around ledge, if you don't have a machine like this, you're working on it for hours. And I think what everybody has to, these are our neighbors. We cut down the time on every one of these water main breaks by 4 or 5 hours because we had this machine. And the cost, what the cost is the cost. But to have, people without water on a Sunday afternoon, where 2 of the water main breaks here happen, is pretty significant. And then the other sewer backup, we had the sewer backup during elections here at the
Yep.
town hall. And not that we couldn't get a truck to come and take care of it. We actually had the crew that came here, and they didn't have the right equipment. The vehicle was there, and within 15 minutes, every poll worker that didn't have to cross the street to go to the fire department to use the facilities, it was taken care of within a half hour. So that's when I was explaining the need of a truck like this, because I'm telling you, I operated one of them for almost, 5, 6 years, when I first started out in this business 38 years ago. It's a multitask, it's an emergency type response, and so far, it's done its job. It's completely done its job.
Any Vector questions? I hate to be sophomoric right now, but if anyone's seen the movie Airplane, they always say, Victor, what's your vector? And what's your vector factor? That's the new slogan.
Yeah, like a start.
Not to digress. Go ahead, Kathy.
I have I don't know if it's for the town administrator, a question on snow and ice salaries.
Let's see if Jim can
Right at
answer
the
it.
bottom.
Why don't you ask the question?
Um,
Are you referring to the handout?
Yes, snow and ice salaries, are they paid under the general fund, a snow and ice fund, or are any of the enterprise funds charged for snow and ice removal by employees?
Sure. So the way it's set up, every employee has a snowplow route. And that's, you go to any other town, that's unheard of. You go from Westwood all the way to Milford, that doesn't happen. If you work for a division, you work for the division. In Millis, we have so many few employees, everybody gets a plow route. So when we call everybody in, everybody gets called in. And right away, the person, let's use the $16 hour. Let's just use that for
Sure.
a base. 12 hours is his base pay 4 hours is his, whatever he has for licenses. I say he because that's all we have is he's, right now. So the $16 are divided, $12 is his base pay, 4 hours is because he has to maintain water licenses to maintain his job in the, if he's assigned to water and sewer. Those monies, the $12 gets charged to the snow and ice budget, which it's part of that budget that
Yep.
you just
Yep.
saw. And the $4 gets charged back to the water department, or if he has a CDL license, it gets charged back to the transfer station or general fund. So that's, so yes, so it does get charged back to the water department, enterprise fund.
Does that make sense?
Well, it makes sense in the explanation, but I'm wondering why water, sewer, and stormwater ratepayers are paying for snow removal.
I think that's another question that was,
You don't,
Posed.
you look, Mr. Chair, did it make sense what I said?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Look,
so that was another question that was posed to the person that came in and did the study for us after the Paradigm inspection. And again, he felt that if it works for Millis, you can use it. But again, I don't see that being used
And
in
just
other towns.
in other towns.
and maybe just add on to that, the new position that you're requesting, that would help alleviate some of that?
No,
No.
because we'd still need the water people who, I mean, when they get hired, the first thing, the question is, are you available? Well, you have to be available
Yeah,
to come into every snow emergency.
yeah,
If not, we don't want you.
yeah.
I'm curious,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, if, what alternative would you suggest?
Well, I think it should be all charged to the snow and ice budget.
I'm more talking about the routes, the route issue where all your employees, DPW employees are assigned routes. Would you suggest they not be assigned routes and that you have a separate division of separate resources that are solely responsible for snowplowing?
So it would come under the general fund. So if you had the additional 4 to 5 staff that the report said we needed, then you wouldn't need those water people to be assigned to plow route.
All hands
Or
on-
you hire a contractor.
All hands on deck.
Which is more efficient? Having extra employees or using the employees that you have?
You use the employees that you have and hire a contractor, it's almost double, triple the cost of what you would have as an employee.
Makes sense.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thanks.
Any other, that's it, all right.
I think that's
very
it.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Thanks.
We'll be looking for 109.
You and me both.
That's state time, so that means
Mine
one year
is
is
kidding you,
five.
Jim.
Shocks. All right,
And Massachusetts, 1 year means 10.
so why don't we take a look at the warrant, the articles. So let's see, so Joyce is not here, but she expressed that she might be interested in a few articles. Do you want to take a look at some of the articles right now and see who might want to take what as we kind of start shaping this? Sounds like a yes?
Sure, sure.
All right.
Speak for them.
I know.
Sorry, just to start off here, does anyone have any objections if Joyce does the first one? She wanted the first one. Is that okay with everybody?
Oh, come on.
I know,
Really?
I
Eight
know.
bills, come on.
We'll make it up to you in the fall meeting. Okay, article number 2, additional wages and expenses. Basically, we need 2 or 3. 2-ish per person.
I'll take it, that's fine.
Okay. Operating budget, I think that's appropriate for me. And number 4 is appropriate for me. Sewer enterprise and water enterprise, they might go hand in hand.
Nothing else.
You want
Oh,
this?
you want to try? Go
It
ahead.
doesn't
I've
matter.
done them so before.
Then why don't I get it?
You want it? All right. I love it. All right.
You're so lucky.
All of
I
us.
can do whatever ones go together. If they all go
Yeah,
together, I'll
Sewer
do
and water.
You, yeah.
What, so 5, 6, 7, that's fine.
You wanna do those three?
Everything, water, clean,
get extra
dirty,
points
and
if you do
from the-
three.
From the store.
Okay.
All the water,
All the water.
all the water.
Article 8, consent agenda. Amendments to personnel.
A lot of reading.
A lot of reading.
It's a lot of reading it.
Okay.
I don't mind doing that.
Jody, thank you. Sewer Enterprise and Water Prize. Kathy?
I'll do those,
All right,
9 and 10.
sure. Community preservation, open space, Oak Grove, trail improvements, as well as the farmhouse renovations.
I'll grab those two.
Want to go? Okay. Capital items, I think I'll take that one. Opioid settlement, special revenue. Sarah, Mike,
I'll do that.
Sarah?
I can do 15 too.
All right, thank you. So, let's see here. Library parking? Pete, Ruby.
Volunteer for
You want to do 17 as well?
Sure.
Okay.
I'd take 18 as well.
Ooh,
Wow.
show 'em.
If I was here, I would have taken it.
All right. Oh, you won't be here, that's
No, I won't
right.
be
Mike Crone will not be
Yeah, I
here.
won't be here, so.
He has a legitimate excuse.
Yeah, right.
So I was like, geez, you're kind of quiet. I'm like, I forgot you're gonna
I'll call in from Europe.
be gone.
Hello, Rangoon.
Sarah, you want a couple
Geofencing.
more of these?
Yep,
I know
I'll take
Joyce.
19,
All right.
or 20, or both, I don't care.
Why don't I do,
You know, Joyce is on the senior council, maybe she
Okay.
should do 19.
yeah, I agree,
Yeah.
and she mentioned that, so thank
Oh,
you. Yeah, thank you for noting that, and thank you, Sarah. Can I give Joyce 19 and 20 and then give you 21 and 22?
That's
I
fine.
only have one.
Oh, you only have
I'm
one?
doing 22.
I was gonna say, you want to do
since I've already
stabilization?
Done some work. on it.
Okay.
So
Love it.
Joyce is gonna do 19 and 20, is
I,
that what
yep,
you said?
yep, or you can do 20 or 21 if you want. Doesn't matter.
I don't care.
You're
that's-
both equally split right now between two.
I'll do, I can do 21 and she can do 20.
All right, perfect. All right. So we'll see if these modify at all going forward, but they should be pretty static, I would imagine.
You need to rest up after 8.
Um,
That way you can do it.
Any thoughts or comments on that? That is good.
I don't wanna do it.
Yeah, so let's get to the minutes. We've got to talk about the minutes here. So we've got to talk about 2 minutes. Thank you, Deirdre, for putting both these down on the agenda here. So, if we all recall from last meeting, I believe it was last meeting.
Yep.
We reopened the March 6 FinCom meeting minutes. And the discussion was in the middle of the word will versus would, or what word is being used. And if the override fails, the district will need to reduce staff by 7 full-time teachers and 8 full-time paraprofessionals. I had the good fortune, I don't know if other people did, to watch the rerun of FinCom on YouTube. And at 10 minutes and 50 seconds, Mark Conroy said there'd be an impact if the override did not go through. And at 11 minutes and 17 seconds, he said it would impact, or he didn't say anything. He would say it would be 7 full-time teachers and 8 full-time paraprofessionals. So, for the record, there was no will or would in the statement. So I appreciate Pete bringing it up, and I also appreciate Deirdre for putting it in there. So I think that hopefully clarifies it. Any discussion?
It seems akin to the Zapruder film. I'm just wondering if, but I'm good with it.
So I'll take a nomination to accept these minutes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move we accept the minutes of March 6th as amended.
Second?
There's been a motion to approve and seconded to approve the Finance Committee minutes from March 6, 2024 at 7 PM. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Not in favor? Unanimous.
I abstain, because I wasn't there.
Oh, Jen abstained, okay, fair enough.
No, you were
I
at
should have
that
asked.
meeting.
No, I
I
wasn't.
should have asked. I
Wait,
should have asked.
missed
six-
both meetings?
I missed two in a
Okay,
row.
okay.
Yep.
Yep. So moving on to the other minutes, which are
Also gonna abstain.
March
Throw
13th,
that one out there.
Finance Committee minutes at 7 PM. Does anyone have any questions on these minutes? Discussion? No?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I move that we accept the Finance Committee meeting minutes of March 13th as written.
Second.
Second, there's been a motion seconded to approve the March 13th Financial Committee, FinCom minutes at 7 PM. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Jen?
And Peter. under-
And Peter, thank you. Okay, moving along, doing well. Go ahead, Pete.
I move we vote to approve the following bill for postage paid to the Millis Post Office in the amount of $1,229.76 for the spring, related to probably spring warrant advertising.
Second.
Correct. It's been motioned and seconded to allow for the spending of $1,229.76 for postage for the spring FinCom report. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Nice, all right. Motion passes. Please, I'm going to pass this around. Please sign and pass to the next member. Okay, moving along to, let's talk about liaison updates. So Deirdre passed along the committees in an email. And there's a few of us on different committees. Myself, I'm on the Capital Planning Committee. Kathy's on the Community Preservation Committee, correct?
Yes, sir.
We have a former FinCom member, John Stedman, on the Conservation Commission, just honoring him. Joyce is on the Council of Aging. Jen, you're on the Cultural Council. And the rest of us are on FinCom. And Jody, you're on the MBTA
Oh,
Yes.
Committee.
3A Advisory Committee.
Thank you. I was
Miss-
abbreviating.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Pete.
quick question. Are those members that you're reading, are they assigned as FinCom liaisons, or are they members at large, just doing their, opting for public service, additional public service?
Mr. Chair, I'm an appointee of the, a non-voting appointee from the FinCom, not an at-large.
Correct, okay. In our policies and procedures, I believe, Jody, you helped put that together. Under Section 8 and Section 13 covers liaisons and representatives. And liaisons are, can be part of a committee but not vote, have no voting capacity, where the representatives can. So if people, if members want to be on a committee or have interest in being on one of the committees that are in here, whether it's something that is appropriate for FinCom or other interests, I guess, then why don't you email me and let me know? I think it's important that not only do we dedicate our time and efforts with the FinCom group here, but it also helps us look at the bigger picture of the town and how it functions. I had another point, but it's escaping me right now. I'll come back.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
But, I mean, through the course of our lives, we may serve on more than one committee.
Correct.
Not as an official liaison. Like, my work with the MBTA 3A Advisory Committee is not as a FinCom representative. It's just a separate committee, and I like to keep this committee informed of what's going on there.
Yep. Thank you for pointing that out. I think another point would be the school project. And if someone has interest of attending those projects, I know that they had a Zoom a couple weeks ago. They're going to have another open meeting on the April 24th, I believe. But if someone wants to be involved with that to help relay information, then I'm open to that. Just email me, and maybe we rotate through just to get different ideas and thoughts and perspectives.
Good idea.
All right. On other minor but important notes, if I can find my notes. Myself, with the help of the vice chair, submitted to Victoria a write-up of the calendar year 2023 Millis Finance Committee report. So it covers spring meeting, town meeting, it covers the fall meeting, and we covered the tri-county vote as well. So big highlights, about a page and a half of information. So it was good. So thank you, Mike, for helping me with that one. That's completed. We got the minutes, got that. Today, I don't know, I know Kathy, you passed along a Chapter 70 webinar that aired today. I didn't have time to go on it, but I know Joyce attended it.
Joyce did.
Were you on it as well?
No,
Okay,
I got a link for it afterwards, so.
okay. So if people wanted to learn more about Chapter 70 funding, the presenter said it's a 7-hour class, boiled down into 45 minutes. So it sounds like the Cliff Notes version. So I will pass, I'll get the on-demand link and I'll pass it along to everybody. So if people want that, other than that, that's all I have. Does anyone have anything else before we wrap it up? All good, I'll take a motion.
Move to adjourn?
Second?
Second. The motion and second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Not? Staying? Unanimous.
We have to stay till 9 o'clock like you just
Thanks, Deirdre.